Right. So I have a quick assessment here that I would want us to look at to carry out this practical. Now imagine that you are working on an equipment data that is set up for a newly commissioned gas compression unit in SAP PM, and your task is to evaluate each component below and decide whether it should be created as a standalone equipment, a sub-equipment, or a bill of material, okay, or a functional location. So if these are new terms to you, I've made a video that is talking about um, these terms, and I'm going to be attaching the link on the introduction for you to have a basic understanding of what it is. All right. So here, what we are asked to do at this point is first of all to evaluate each of these components that have been brought into the system and know which one we are going to create as a functional location, as a standalone equipment, as a sub equipment, or as a bill of material. Now, one of the components is the gas compressor skid package. That is one of the components. And the second component is the lubrication oil pump. The third is the temperature transmitter. And then the next one is the control panel and the inlet filter element. So I'm going to be assuming that this is basically what the skid looks like, just an assumption. Okay, so what we are going to do is to know where each of these components are going to fit on the SAP system. Now, looking at what we have here as a decision matrix, we are going to answer these questions. Now, the first equipment that we have is the gas compressor skid package. And it is telling us that this gas compressor skid package, the entire package is shipped and installed as one unit. Okay, but then it also told us that it is occasionally removed for overhaul as a unit. All right, so if we are going to look at this decision matrix, it first of all asks us if this equipment, if it is an equipment class, okay, according to the ISO 14224. So the answer is yes, it is. All right. Now the next question says, is it a component of a larger package? And if you look at the gas compressor skid package, it is not a component of a larger package. They have told us that the entire package is shipped and installed as one unit. Okay, as one unit. All right. And the next question is now telling us that is it is the item a subunit or is a maintainable item of an ISO 14224 equipment class. So because the answer is no, the next thing is this question. All right. So is this a maintainable item? Here it has already told us that it is occasionally removed for overhaul as a whole. So that means that it is a maintainable item. All right. So the answer is yes. Now, because the answer is yes, the next question is when the parent equipment unit is removed, is the item removed as part of the parent? So, first of all, in this setup for the gas compressor skid, there is no parent, okay? This is like a stand-alone equipment. So, what we have here saying that when the parent equipment unit is removed, is the item removed as part of the parent? The answer is no. All right, because this particular package on its own entire system. All right, it's an entire unit and it's installed as one unit. So because the answer is no, the decision matrix is now telling us that what we are going to then do is to create this equipment for the item and a corresponding functional equipment location. and a corresponding functional equipment location. Install the item as primary equipment in the functional equipment location.
So what we're going to do here is to create this gas compressor skid as a equipment record. Okay, so I could decide that, okay, I'm just going to do this. All right, so I'm going to take this here and I'll put this dash over here, and I would say create as an equipment record. Okay, so I can also decide to create a functional location, but I am not going to create this compressor skid as a functional location. I could create the functional location as a placeholder. That is, I could create a functional location for the area where the skid is going to be installed in. All right, so I can then say attach the equipment to the FEL. So the FEL at this point is the functional equipment location, okay, which is basically what I'm going to create. All right, now that we've already finalized on this, there's a comment I want to make at this point. All right, now normally someone would have suggested that we create this skid as a functional location, okay, because functional locations are not movable, they are fixed. But if you look at the description given here, it says it is occasionally removed for overhaul as a whole. So meaning that it is not fixed, it is something that is occasionally removed. So creating it as a functional location at this point is not going to work. And remember that that's not the only matrix we used. We used other matrices like if the item is an integral component, okay, and if the item is subunit, all right, and then we got to this point, okay, when the parent equipment is it removed, we got to, so we can say that there are other matrices that we used in also determining what to create it as. All right, now the next equipment that I want us to look at is the lubrication pump. All right, now for the lubrication pump, we are going to ask ourselves the same question. So they told us that it is installed on the gas compressor and it is removed and maintained independently, and it is not removed with the compressor skid. So even without looking at the decision matrix, I can tell you that this equipment should be created as a sub equipment underneath this gas compressor equipment. Now, why am I saying that? Because it has told us that this lubrication oil pump is installed on the gas compressor. So it means that at the same line of that gas compressor is where you will find this lubrication oil pump. All right, so that means that it should be a sub equipment underneath my gas compressor. Okay, and another thing that can also make me to know if I should create this as an equipment, it has told me that it is normally removed and maintained independently. So this is speaking to the equipment. Okay, but let us go into using the decision matrix to know what exactly we are going to create this as. So we're going to go back. So the first thing says, is the item an equipment class as defined by the ISO14224? The answer is yes, it is. It's a pump, and the pumps are part of the equipment class that are defined by ISO14224. Okay, so the answer is yes. Now the next question is saying that is the item a component of a larger package where the complete package is routinely or logically removed. So this pump that we are seeing here is installed on the gas compressor line, but it is not a part of a larger package that is removed as a whole. So it's not like a larger system has to be taken out before we can see the oil pump. All right, so it's existing as a sub equipment. It's existing as an equipment on the line of the gas compressor. All right, now the answer is no, and because it's no, we'll ask ourselves the next question: is the item a subunit or a maintainable item? The item is a maintainable item because they've told us that it is maintained independently. So the answer is yes. Now, because it is yes, we now ask, when the parent equipment unit is removed, is the item removed as part of the parent? The answer is no, because this pump is not found inside the compressor per se. Okay, it is just on the same line of the compressor, but not located inside the compressor. All right, so we cannot say that it is removed with the parent. All right, so the answer to that will be no. Now, because the answer to that is no, what we are going to do is to create an equipment record for the item. All right, so we're going to be creating an equipment record for this item, but in this situation we are going to be creating it as a sub equipment. Now, this one will be as a standalone. Okay, so this one will be created as a standalone. All right, because they've told us that it is installed as one unit, shipped and installed as one unit. Now, at this point, for this one, I could create this as a sub unit. Create as a sub. First of all, I would create as an equipment first of all. All right, then create as sub units. All right, to the stand alone equipment. Okay, now having done this, we'll look at the next one, which is the temperature transmitter. Now, the temperature transmitter is saying that it is mounted on the discharge line of the compressor. So what is this telling you? Even without looking at decision matrix, it's telling you that it is on the line of the compressor, but at the discharge line of the compressor, and it requires discrete tracking and calibration records. Okay, so what we can do here, we are going to answer the questions. So let's see what we have. Now, the question says, is the item an equipment class? Yes, it is. It's a transmitter, so it's part of the equipment class defined by ISO. So because it's yes, the next question says, is it a part of is the item a component of a larger package? The answer is no. All right, it's not a component of a larger package. It is installed at the discharge line, but not a component of the larger package. All right, so because it is no, we will now ask, is the item a subunit, okay, or maintainable item? So this particular item is a subunit, all right, and it's a maintainable item. So the answer is yes. All right, and the next is, when the parent equipment unit is removed, is the item removed as part of the parent? The answer is no, because when we are trying to remove the, let me say, the compressor, for instance, we are not removing the transmitter, because the transmitter is just at the discharge line. Okay, it's not on the compressor itself. All right, it's not in that compressor itself, so there is no relationship between that removal of the parent equipment, which is standalone equipment, to the transmitter. Okay, so the answer will be no. But then we have something else here. All right, and because the answer is no, they've told us that, okay, we have to create the equipment record for the item. All right, but there's something else that was said in that particular example. It said, is district tracking required? From our example here, we're told that it requires a discrete tracking and calibration records because this is a transmitter, and occasionally they are going to be taking calibration records. So there is a need for discrete tracking. Now, because there is a need for discrete tracking, okay, because there is a need for this discrete tracking, we would obviously have to create the equipment record. So we're going to create it normally as an equipment record, okay, and would install it as a sub equipment underneath the parent equipment, all right, which is the main equipment that we have. So I am going to also do the same thing that I did here, create as an equipment, then create on the standalone. So this is what we are going to have here. So I'm going to just highlight this and I place here. Okay, so we can now see that what we have here is one standalone equipment that will be attached to the functional equipment location that we are going to create, and then we have the lubrication oil pump and the temperature transmitter that will be created as a sub equipment, okay, as a sub equipment to this standalone equipment. So I think we have one more. We have the control panel. So this control panel, we could create this control panel as a functional location, okay, but there are many reasons why you might not want to create this as a functional location, because underneath here they said it is removed together with the compressor skid during major overhauls. So it means that we are supposed to create this compressor skid, okay, as a primary equipment. Now we're going to answer the question using this compressor control panel. So we're going to go back to this. Now it says, is it part of an equipment class? Yes. Is the item a component of a larger package where the complete package is routinely or logically removed as a materialized physical object? So the answer is yes, because for our control panel, okay, we've been told that it is normally removed together with the compressor skid during major overhauls, okay. So because we've been told this is going to have a yes, all right. And because it's having a yes, the next is for you to create the equipment record for the package and a corresponding FEL. Because it is an integral part, all right, we know we have a yes answer here. So what we are going to do for here for our control panel is we are going to create it as an equipment, right? We're going to create it as a standalone asset, right? We're going to create it as a standalone asset. So it's not going to be installed under any equipment, okay. We're going to install it directly under the functional location, just the same way we had the compressor skid being installed underneath the functional location that we have here. That's how we're going to create the control panel underneath that particular functional location, okay, because it is serving as a main unit in the structure. So there are several ways we can do this. You can decide that you also want to attach it to maybe like a sub equipment to the gas compressor skid package, but I don't really think that attaching it as a sub equipment on the gas compressor skid is going to be the best option, okay. Why? Because the control panel is a system on its own, and from what we see here, it says it controls all the systems in the compressor skid, and of course it's going to have its own different maintenance activities for it. So it's advisable that we create it as a primary equipment which is as a standalone asset. Now, when we look at the inlet filter elements, all right, the inlet filter elements, this is going to be maintained on the system as a bill of material. Okay, it's going to be installed as a bill of material. And why do I say so? Because the filter element is not an equipment. Okay, it is a part. It's more like replaceable spares, all right, in the equipment. So for this one, we are going to be maintaining it as a bill of material. So we're quickly going to see how this is done on the SAP system. All right, so I'm going to create my equipment real quick so that we can create the structure together. So we're going to first create the functional location, all right, for that location. So I want to call this the gas room. Okay, so I'm going to select my structural indicator. I'm supposed to select this before that, so I want to use the 3-level functional location. So I would call this the bev gas room. Okay, so this is the functional equipment location that I want to create to attach my skid, okay, underneath. So I'm not going to maintain a lot of these details because of time. I'm going to put my maintenance plants. I'll put my room, I'll call this the gas room. I'll impute my plant sections. Okay, I'll impute my work center. I'll impute my ABC indicator. I want it to be an A machine. All right, then my organization. Then I'm going to save. So we now have our functional location, our functional equipment location. Okay, so this is our location here. Now the next thing that we are going to do from what we've deduced is to create this gas compressor skid as a standalone equipment. So I'm going to go back to my SAP system and navigate to creating the equipment. So I'm going to create the equipment, all right, and I'm going to call it the gas compression skid 2 because I have one already existing on the system. Imputes my maintenance plants, all right. I'll impute my room, the gas room. Impute my location. Okay, we don't have a location maintained on the system. I'll impute the plant section and my work center, okay, and my ABC indicator as A. All right, so we have all units and I save. Okay, so I want us to quickly just create all the equipment at once before we start building the structure. Then we have the temperature transmitter. We'll first have to create it as an equipment first. So I'm just going to go ahead to create the temperature transmitter. Temperature transmitter 2, so I call this 2. Okay, and then I'll impute my location 1478 as my plants. I'll impute my room, gas room, my plant section. I'll select my plant section. Okay, so there's something we are not putting. You put your planner group, maintain your planner group. If you have your work centers, you maintain, and then you click on your save. All right, so we have one more, the control panel. So we're going to create the control panel as well as an equipment like we deduced. So the control panel, I'll create this control panel. right? I'll input my location. Okay, I'll input my room, the gas room, plant section. I select my plant section. I select my work center, and I want it as an A machine. Organization, I input my planner group. Okay, as beverage tent. I save. So I'm going to leave this bill of material at the moment. Okay, we'll get back to that. So I think there is a change I want to make for okay, that's fine. All right, so now that we are done with this, the next is now to build our structure. So gas compressor skid, we said we are going to create it as a standalone equipment, which is what we've done, and we are going to attach the equipment to the functional equipment location, which is what we had created. All right, so what we're going to do now is to attach it. So to attach it, what we are doing is to attach this equipment, okay, to the functional equipment location. So that means that we have a parent and child relationship here. Okay, so in this case, the compressor skid package is going to be the child, okay, and the functional equipment location that we have created is going to be the parent. So I'm going to open up the child. All right, I'm going to open up the child through the change equipment. So I wasn't taking note of this, so I don't know. Let me just use 30 and see what it gives us. Now this is it. So this is the child, okay? So how do we then attach it to the FEL? We click on the structure here and click on change installation location. So when I click on this, I can now input what I have created. I don't know if we have, this is no, it doesn't exist. Okay, so this is what I created. All right, so we've attached it and I will click on save. Okay, now after this have been done, we are done with this. The next is the lubrication oil pump. Okay, we've done it, we've created it as an equipment. The next is to create it as a subunit to the standalone equipment. Again, we have a parent and a child relationship. In this case, the parent is going to be the gas compressor skid and the child is going to be the lubrication oil pump. So to do this, we are going to open up the child. Okay, so this is the child. No, this is temperature transmitter. Let's see. Okay, so I think we missed an equipment. We missed the lubrication oil pump. So let's just quickly create the lubrication oil pump as an equipment. Okay, so let's create it as an equipment. Lubrication oil pump 2. Okay, include your location, include your plants, include your room, include your plant section. Okay, include your work center, include your ABC. All right, and then your organization. Okay, so you save. So we have it as 33. So let's go back.
Going to create the structure. Remember that we are creating it as a sub equipment to the gas kit. Alright, so click on sub equipment. Alright, and I would impute the gas kit over here. 1 2 3 4 5. I think the gas kit is 30 if I'm not mistaken. So click enter. Alright, so it's giving us this error because we've assigned this gas kit to a functional location already. So basically I like assigning to a functional location at the last, okay, so that it can enable us to attach the superior equipment, the sub equipment. So we're going to just go and dismantle what we attached. Alright, so this was 30. Okay, so I'm just going to dismantle this and click on dismantle. So this is what we did before, but I want us to make this the last thing we are going to do. So we have to attach the sub equipment underneath it before we do this. So let's dismantle. Alright, and then we save. So we are going to go back to our change. Alright, now go back to your 33 and let's see what we have. Sub equipment, so I'm going to put it here, 30 as the skid. I'll go back and I'll click on save. So I want to see if what we've done is the correct thing. Remember that what we are told to do here is to attach this lube oil pump as a sub equipment, meaning that when you expand the node for gas compressor skid, you have to see the lube oil pump. So let's see if that is what we have on the SAP system. So I'm going to click here to get the structure list. Okay, so we have it the other way around. Alright, we have it the other way around. So this is supposed to be the parent, while this is supposed to be the child. So to create this relationship, I'm going to use the parent to do the attachments. Okay, so I'm going to dismantle what we've done here because we have it the other way around. I'll click on dismantle, select this and click on dismantle. Okay, click enter. So we have it dismantled. Then I save. Okay, I will save it. So I want to go through the parent, which is the skid, and do my attachment. So I'll come to structure again and sub equipment. So I'm going to impute 33, I think, lubrication oil pump. Now remember that lubrication oil pump is not the only sub equipment to that. We still have temperature transmitter. Okay, so I want to attach all of them at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to do it this way. Alright, I'll go back and I'll save this first. Okay, I'll open it again and click on structure, click on sub equipment. Okay, so here it tells me to install, so I want to install another one. So I'll click on install. Okay, and then I put the next number. I think that number is 30. We had 30 for the skid, 31. So that was 31. I'll click enter. Okay, I'll go back and I click save. So let's see what we have here as the sub equipment. So we can see we have two sub equipments, alright, underneath these superior equipment here. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do now is to check the structure to know if this is what I want. So I'm going to click here again. Now you can see that what this is telling us, it says this is a standalone and lube oil pump and temperature transmitter are sub equipment. So when I open up this, when I expand this node of my standalone equipment, you can see that I now have the sub equipment underneath. We also have the control panel, which we've been told controls all the system, and we've agreed that we want to also make it a stand-alone equipment as well. Okay, but before we make it a standalone equipment, we need the functional equipment location. So now I can then successfully attach this to the functional equipment location that we were supposed to attach it to before. Okay, so I'm going to come here. We are still on the skid. I click on structure. So this time around, we're not going to use the sub equipment. We want to install it on a location. So I'll click on change install location. Then I put in my functional location here and click enter and save. So now we can display it on the system. If I click on the structure, I want to see the levels above. So now we have a complete structure. Now this is our FEL. When you expand the FEL, alright, when we expand the FEL, we have two skids. So this is what we had previously on the system. So we have the gas compression skid 1 and gas compression skid 2. Alright, but when I expand the skid 2, I have temperature transmitter and the lube oil as sub equipment to this. So we are going to then create our control panel as a standalone equipment. So it is a primary equipment. Now when we say standalone equipment, what we want to do for this is to make it in such a way that when we expand this node, we're not only going to be seeing the gas compression skid, the two gas compression skid, we are also going to be seeing the control panel. Alright, so what we are going to do in that regard is to open the equipment that we created for the control panel. I think that was 32, I think so. So we are right. I'm going to click on structure, and because it is an installation location, not a sub equipment, I'm going to click on this and input my FEL here and click on save and click on save. Now let's see the full explosion of this and how it looks like. I'll click on my hierarchy, click yes, levels above. Now this is what it looks like. This is what I want to see. Okay, so here on this FEL, you can see we have the compression skid 1, compression skid 2, and then we have our control panel. When we expand this skid, we have these two as primary equipment, as sub equipment to this, and this as a primary equipment. Okay, so we have one more pending, which is the bill of materials, and we are told here that it is maintained regularly but replaced while the skid stays in one place. So it means that this filter is a part of the skid system. So we are going to create this as an equipment bill of material. Why? Because the skid is maintained as an equipment on the system. So we're going to go again to create equipment bill of material, and we can obviously do that through bill of material here. So I'll expand this and click on equipment, boom, click on create. Okay, so I want to attach it to the skid, and the skid is 30. Adding impute my plant. I'll click enter. So your boom usage, which is 4 for plant maintenance, and enter. So at this point, I'll impute my components. I think the component is 472. We've created it on the system. I'll put my ICT, the item category, as a non-stock item. It's just an example, right? So as a non-stock item, and I'll click enter. So I'll put my quantity as 4, click enter, and then I can save. So now I have this as a part of the equipment boom for the skid. So let's have a full explosion and see how it looks like. So here we're going to go through the change again. Okay, and click enter. So I want to see the full structure levels above. Now this is what we have. Now when I expand this node, I have 3 standalone equipments. When I expand this standalone equipment, I have one inlet filter attached to this kit as a boom, and 2 sub equipment attached to this kit as a sub equipment, and 1 standalone control panel attached to the FEL. So basically this is how to structure your assets. Now, like I said, to have a recap of what we just talked about, the main thing, alright, in doing this is to ask yourself some questions based on your decision matrix, or you could use some of these questions over here to determine how to properly create it. So you can see that yes, the compressor skid might have looked like it is something that could be created as a functional location, but looking at it critically, we've been told that it is occasionally removed, and we have deduced here that for fixed installation and movable, when it's movable, it has to be maintained on the system as a functional. When it's movable, it has to be maintained on the system as an equipment. Okay, and we've been clearly told that this is removed occasionally. So you can see that when we properly answer these questions, we can know what to create as this and what not to create as this. So I think this is time for us to not be having a functional location structure that is linear, okay, but having a structure that is really structured, so that we can be able to have maintainable and reliable data on the CMMS system. I hope you've enjoyed this video.